This is Tim with InMyMMAOpinion.com and on Twitter at InMyMMAOpinion. And on the phone, I have Shogun Fights promoter John Rallo. John's pretty much been an MMA lifer, in the game since the 90s, fighter, coach, now promoter. How you doing, John?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks. Upcoming Shogun Fights VIII this Saturday, April 13th, First Man Arena, Baltimore. Let people know just a little bit about Shogun. You've been at this for the last 4 years. Shogun Fights is a regional promotion, but this isn't, a casino ballroom or a union hall. You guys are setting up shop, in a 15,000-seat arena. Let some of the people know the kind of numbers you've been doing and the talent coming out of Shogun.
Yeah, the show itself is at the First Mariner Arena, which is the same venue that Jay-Z, Beyonce, Motley Crue, heck, Elvis has played the building. The Rolling Stones, have been there. So pretty awesome to be part of that kind of a history. We set our spot up for about 8,000, like for 7,500 to 8,000, and we basically get in the 5 to 6 range so far. So I'm ecstatic. Whenever I talk to anybody about the attendance, I challenge you to find a regional show that does the numbers that we do here twice a year in Baltimore. And, for that matter, I'm willing to put our attendance numbers up against people like Bellator. I think without Viacom money, Bellator, wouldn't be anywhere near where they are. They do have some, and I'm not downing their show at all, but, they have some talent, but nothing, it's not like the household names that you would have, if they were in the UFC. You don't have the Anderson Silvas and the George St. Pierre. So, I think we actually do more people at our shows. I think the production value is better at one of our shows. And, I wish we had a Viacom or NBC, like the World Series of Fighting, another, decent show, decent talent, but poor production. Heck, their show last weekend or the other weekend with Anthony Johnson and Andre Arlovsky, almost didn't go off because they didn't even have a proper cage. They actually had to rent a cage from a local promoter up there so that their show could go on. So, that kind of stuff is, not a good thing when, you're supposed to be part of the major league of the sport.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think people realize, the percentage of tickets that are actually comped by those guys, both promotions and.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty crazy, especially when you do, like the World Series of Fighting was at the Borgata. So, a lot of times when you do a show at a casino, and I'm not hating, I'm jealous, I'd love to have a casino deal where they basically pay you to come there. Free venue, free hotel rooms, free food, tickets, for your fighters, free everything, to come and just draw people to the event. Myself, I'd love to get hooked up with something like that, but at the same time, the production of our show, I believe, is so high quality that if once I move this into a ballroom to scale it down, it becomes a different event. It's not the same thing as it is when you do it at the arena. When you come to one of our shows, UFC, it's the only thing that could possibly be a little bit better as far as live entertainment. And, and I basically, I stand by that. It's like you said, I've fought, I'm a coach, I'm a fan. I've been to Bodog, I've been to Elite XC, to Strike Force, to the UFC, and I really believe that, our show can hang with any of them. When Cowboy and Leonard and Mike Brown, guys who fought the WEC before it was absorbed by the UFC, Cowboy straight up said, this is better than 90% of the WECs I've fought in. He said the only ones that rivaled it were Sacramento when Uriah was on the card because they were actually playing in a real arena at that point. So, I'm definitely proud of the turnout that we get, the production value that Tim Condors, my production manager, and the production value that Sheffield gives it when you see the TV product.
I agree. I was actually at that World Series of Fighting event, and it's set up for a TV show. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the talent's definitely there. But the screens aren't the screens at Shogun. Like I said, it's just a different experience.
Speaking of screens, like for this one, like we're always trying to improve the fan experience as well. So normally we had two, of the big screens up for the guys. I think they were like 15 by 20. Now we're going to have one giant HD screen that's going to be, I think it's 18 feet by 32 feet. And this thing's crazy looking, and the quality of it is like sitting home watching HD TV. So the only other time that this screen's been used locally was by the Baltimore Ravens. They did like a movie premiere. I believe it was at the Hippodrome, and they showed this. They showed the season. It was basically the season in review on film, and they showed it on this thing. And the reviews that the screen and everybody gave, it was crazy. So I'm really excited that we're going to have the same screen. It's like I said, if good enough for the world champion Ravens, I think it's good enough for Shogun Fights. And we're going to make sure that we have that in, and I think it'll give everybody even better visibility, and it's going to be a clearer picture. And instead of two smaller images, now you're going to see one large image. So I'm kind of pumped up. I think it's going to add to the fan experience.
It's awesome that you guys are always trying to go to that next level. Real quick, before we break down the fights, I was actually checking out the UFC has an app out, and I was just flipping through, the fighter roster. Get to heavyweight, and there's John Rallo. Is there something you want to tell us? Are you making a comeback?
I wish.
Have you seen that?
Maybe they bought me with the WEC's roster. At the time when I hurt my knee, I was actually the number 2 heavyweight in WEC, rankings. So who knows? Maybe they still have me there from that. I don't know if they want my old ass anymore. I'm 44 now. But hell, if they were going to come and make it worth my while, I think I could get it together and give it one last hurrah. I just have to do it in between Shoguns because anybody out there that fights knows if you're fighting, it's a very selfish time because it's all about you at that point. You really need to focus on your training, on your diet. You're going to train multiple times a day. And, at that point, man, I really wouldn't be able to teach at the schools. Definitely wouldn't be able to put out the energy that it takes to promote one of these. I mean, I'm running on fumes now, and, the sleep only gets less, until basically Monday, because even Sunday you have guests coming in that you have to take back to the airport on Sunday. Anthony Johnson's coming in. I'm pumped about that. Matt Serra was scheduled to come, and I put it out on Facebook. I need to put it on our website. I don't want to get into huge details, but Matt actually had to have an emergency surgery, and he just had the surgery on Tuesday, I believe. The surgery precludes him from being able to fly. And, Matt's a personal friend. He's already been to Shogun a couple times. Obviously I'm bummed. He's bummed because we enjoy, we don't get to see each other as much as we used to. But, health first. He's got a wife and 3 little girls, and most important thing is that he gets healthy, and we'll get him down here, again in the future when he's better.
Yeah, Matt's an awesome ambassador for the sport, but, Anthony Johnson's no slouch, so it's good to hear, you guys slid a replacement in there.
I'm excited to get Anthony in. I mean, heck, he just had a big win over Andre Arlovsky. He was a top contender at 170, and, he was an up-and-coming star in the UFC until all the weight issues started to happen where he couldn't make weight. So, who knows, maybe a few more wins at heavyweight, and you see Anthony coming over and fighting heavyweight in the UFC.
Absolutely. I'll just throw out a couple fights that, I love the card. The card's stacked. Shogun Fights VIII, again, this Saturday, April 13th, First Mariner Arena. A guy that I'm excited to see make his second fight, Adi Alec, first fight lasted 1 minute 14 seconds. He's fighting Charles Kessinger in the second in Shogun Fight VIII. Let people know the background of just the talent of this guy as a striker. This is an explosion.
He's a unique animal. First of all, he's been training with us for like 6 years now. He came to us when he was like 16. So he wrestled in high school, so he had a little bit of a wrestling background. He focused on his jiu-jitsu and focused on his hands. His jiu-jitsu is solid. He's like purple belt level jiu-jitsu, and as an amateur, he was a WKA national national champ in Muay Thai. He had several amateur boxing matches, which he won each of those. He's he likes to stand, honestly. He likes to stand and trade with people. So I almost kind of liken him to a Nick Diaz, only I think Addy's got a little more flash and definitely more knees and kicks involved. Like, he's more explosive than Nick is. But jiu-jitsu's similar, too. When he's on his back, he's very aggressive. On top, he's got a nice game. So, Addy's a guy who I absolutely, believe is you're going to see at the next level. The kid that he beat at the last show, and he made short work of him, they were actually supposed to, fight for a title against each other in the amateurs. And, Mike Young is the opponent. Mike was a two-time state wrestling champion here in Maryland. Good athlete, but just not well-rounded enough. And Addy basically, his boxing coach, Carl Coos, and him had worked on a combination. And honestly, the exact combination that they thought would finish the fight wound up finishing the fight. So, it worked well for him. Charles Kessinger, I think, is a little step up. Charles is more well-rounded. Charles is only 2-2 as a pro, but he had 15 amateur fights as well. So, I think, a more well-rounded guy. He has wrestling, likes to grapple. He doesn't mind trading. So, it's a step up for Addy. We don't want to just throw him to the wolves right away. I want to continue to bring him along and let him develop his game. And the main reason being, again, I really believe that this is a kid that you're going to see at the upper levels. And he goes up to, with that relationship that I have, obviously being a Henzo black belt, I came up with that, Sarah, came up with Ricardo Almeida. So Addy goes up to Ricardo's every Tuesday. And, I used to do it back in the day when we had the IFL practices and stuff. But, Addy goes up there and he gets his training in with Frankie Edgar, with Edson Barbosa, with Akira's up there now. You have a lot of guys that kind of pass through the gym as well. That Jim Hedis has been through there. Eddie Alvarez has been through there. Roger Huerta has been through there. And Ricardo has students, up there as well. Max and Gary Tone and these badass jiu-jitsu guys and guys that are fighting mixed martial arts. So, in addition to his training down here, being part of that team, our guys can go up there and work as well. And Addy's a guy who takes advantage of it. So almost every Tuesday, he's going up there and getting it in and getting some pointers, from some, world-class teammates.
I had no idea he was heading up there. Yeah, that list of names you just rattled off. Marlon Moraes is another guy that
Marlon, I like Marlon. He's up there as well. They got a lot of good guys. They got guys you haven't even heard of. They have Russian kids that are up there, judo guys that are helping out training. And, for me, I encourage my guys to, Rob Shires, Ricardo's first black belt. Our guys will head up there on a Sunday sometimes and work with Rob. I don't pretend to know everything. I don't think that my way's the only way. Jiu-jitsu and MMA are games that kind of your body is almost going to dictate your style of fighting. So for my guys, I like to keep it within our team, but I like for them to travel to different places and work with different people and see different approaches so that it can help their game grow. And who knows that, sometimes, they may bring back a piece of something that I hadn't seen before, and then we can incorporate it into our team.
Yeah.
You never stop learning in this sport. You definitely never stop learning in jiu-jitsu. New stuff's happening all the time. And, heck, I've shown Enzo stuff. You know what I mean? Believe me, showed me a lot more than I've showed him, but there's been 2 or 3 times where I've said to him, hey, man, what about this? And he tries it out. He's like, yeah, I like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to use that now. So, even when you're one of the greatest in the world, like Enzo, you can still learn something. So, I'm not a closed-minded person, and I definitely, like to see my guys, diversify their training and hopefully strengthen us as a whole.
Well, that perspective's, I think, probably the reason for the success at Ground Control and what's being done at Shogun. Is Addy? Is he? I had him at 145, but he actually corrected me on Twitter and told me he's 135 pounder. Is that where he's fighting?
Yeah, he wants to fight at 35. This fight was supposed to be a catch weight at 140. His original opponent was 145 David Perez, because I don't think Dave could have dropped to 40. So Addy agreed to come up to 45. David is an active duty Air Force soldier. He got activated, where they called him and he's got orders, and now he has to go to Guam. So if you're an active duty person, you have to get written permission from the service. I think they said they call it a high-risk activity, but they have to give you permission to fight in mixed martial arts. Because he has orders pending, they won't sign off on Dave to fight. So he actually had to pull out about 5 weeks out of the fight, which it was great because at least it gave us time. Charles is a 35-pounder. Addy was, going to fight at 45. So this fight's actually at a catch weight of 137. But yeah, Addy's ultimate goal is to be a 35-pounder, and as he fills out as he gets older, then maybe he'll make his track to 45. But at this point, 35 is where he's going to be.
Gotcha. Another fight that jumps off the page to me, Nate Greb and Christian Leonard. I was at Shogun 7. Christian Leonard gets the KO victory and then announces to the...
Brent Hess.
Yes.
Big knockout.
Who just fought, actually, Brent Hess just fought in Bellator.
Yep.
And then Christian Leonard gets the knockout and then announces to the crowd, hey, I'm 18 years old.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right?
Which is pretty wild. He's a finisher. Nate Greb's a finisher. Just an awesome fight. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped up. There's several fights on this card like that. I mean, we do our best, to try to match things up so that the fights would be exciting. You're right, Nate, whether it's on his feet or on the ground, he's a guy that's going to look for a finish. Christian is a kid who obviously has knockout power. He knocked out Brent. His last win up in Pennsylvania was a submission victory in the first round, so he has jiu-jitsu as well. He's another kid that was, I want to say as an amateur mixed martial artist, he was like 8-0 or 9-0. In kickboxing, he was like 8-1 or 9-1. So he's a dynamic athlete. He's in great shape. He's, very young, only going to improve. Him and Nate, again, I believe is going to be a nice fight where I think some fireworks can happen. Nate's got solid jiu-jitsu, but Nate's a guy who likes to stand, and he's also a guy that if you hit him, and and I don't want to say hit him and wobble him, because I think if you hurt somebody, normally their instinct would be to take you down. But if you hit him and ring his bell a little bit, he's the type of guy that will fire back. So, he can almost be drawn into that kind of fight. So, I think it's going to be one that's nice for the fans.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. It's going to be exciting. We'll talk about the co-main events. I don't know which one you picked to actually call the main or not, but regardless, two great fights. One of them actually making history in the state of Maryland with the first female MMA pro fight. Rosanna Garcia and Gabby Holloway. Did it take someone like a Ronda Rousey, to kind of make women's MMA mainstream for Shogun to put on the fight, or is it just a matter of the fighters weren't there yet?
Yeah, I think it's a matter, and I don't even want to say they're not there yet. There's plenty of talented women around. I don't know how many are in this area. I don't have any women per se on my fight team. We have women at the gym, but none that are fighting. So I'm not in the loop. Most of the amateur shows that I've been to really don't have many women fighting on the cards here yet. So for me, I wanted to do one, but I wanted to do one as long as the talent was there. My original plan, I was hoping to get Brent's sister, Nicole Hess. I've seen Nicole fight before a couple times. She's talented, got good jiu-jitsu, has good hands. She's pretty, so obviously marketable. But I believe she's in college right now, and her dad said she wasn't really training. Brent's dad actually coaches him and his sister at their school down in Virginia. So, Mike Moses, another great trainer, he's got Evolve Academy down in Gaithersburg. I've known Mike, since I really started my jiu-jitsu training. And, he said he had a girl that he wanted to get on the card. Once he told me about Rosanna, we started looking for an opponent. Gabby's people actually contacted us and asked if they could have the fight because the two of them have fought as an amateur. Gabby won that fight, but at the time, Gabby outweighed Rosanna by like 30 pounds. So it was a good fight. I think it went into the third round before Gabby wound up getting a TKO, I believe. So, I guess a little bit of a revenge match. Gabby, undefeated as an amateur and a pro. Something that people won't know, total class act that her coach is, Invicta called and wanted her to fight on their April 4th show. And because of their contract, with us, they honored our contract. They didn't come to me. They didn't say we want to get out, blah, blah, blah. They said, we already signed the contract and, we're going to honor the contract. So, not a lot, again, very classy, her boxing coach, her coach in general, Eric Zamora, is the gentleman that I was talking to. But I'm putting that out there just because it shows, Gabby is a talent, and the premier women's event in the world, Invicta, is looking at her to fight. So, you're getting a girl who is ready to step to the next level, and, she's going to be here in Maryland for her first pro women's fight. Rosanna and her, I think, very evenly matched. Mike Moses' gym, great Muay Thai gym, great jiu-jitsu team. Gabby, very aggressive style, obviously a boxing gym, but she has wrestling. I've seen several of her fights. So, this is something that I think people are going to be interested in. Women fights normally, by nature, are very exciting. So, I'm looking forward to it. We made them, they're the co-main event with Dan, and they are the second to last fight, and Dan's going to be the last fight.
And there you go. Speaking of Dan Root, I interviewed him a couple weeks ago. Huge fan of his, really sharp guy. Just got into kind of the grind that he goes through, to be a fighter and to support himself. He's on a 6-fight win streak. 2 questions about him. Is there anybody that works harder than him,
No.
And how far away is this guy from the next level? He actually he spoke about, when he started out as an amateur, he was kind of about 500 wins, losses, lost 2 of his first 3 pro fights, and then got hooked up with you, and he specifically named you, and said that's where the win started, and it went on a 6-fight win streak. How far away is this guy from the next level?
I think he's close. At 55, I think Dan can give some people some problems. I liken him to Clay Guida, or somebody to that effect, where Dan's a cardio machine, and he keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming. He just don't stop moving. So, he's been working his boxing extensively. He fought Brian Van Hoven in his last fight. Brian's a guy over 20 fights. Fought Bellator. He's a seasoned vet, and Dan was able to finish him, and Dan was able to outstrike him on the feet, eventually take him down and choke him out. Chris Connor, he fought before Van Hoven. Chris is a guy, he was like 5-3 or 6-3 when they fought, and his 3 losses were all to UFC veterans who he went distance with, and Dan wound up finishing him with a triangle in the second round. So now he's, here he is beating Van Hoven with the rear naked. Now he's winning one off his back against Connor with the triangle. This fight, he's fighting Noe Quintanilla, and Noe is got a veteran of 30 fights. Another guy that's fought all over the place, fought everybody you can fight. And this will be another test for Dan, a guy who has much more experience, but I think style-wise Dan matches up well, so. Bellator had called us before when they were, I think they're going to do a reality show similar to the UFC. Dan was in the interview process and all. I don't believe he was chosen, but the fact that they called and wanted to find out about him and did the phone interviews with him and all that kind of stuff, shows that, people are starting to, know who he is and see what's going on. And then this summer, I'm hoping that maybe him and Danecki maybe, when Bellator's around here, they can get in. I definitely, consider Bellator a major league organization. I don't think anybody can deny that. But I almost see Bellator like as the AAA, you know what I mean? Or the, I don't know, an A+, where I think, we have many guys, and it's proof of it. I mean, we have a lot of Bellator vets on the card. We probably placed like 10, 12 people with Bellator. So the talent level on my show is very similar to them. Now, they'll have a few guys that I think are ready to take that next step and get to the UFC, like a guy like an Eddie Alvarez, who's a world-class talent. But, they don't have an abundance of those people like the UFC. So I think if Dan can get into Bellator, win a few, get some more experience, then that makes him more attractive even to the UFC. So if the UFC were to call, heck, we'd go. You know what I mean? But, I think, Dan's a guy his work ethic is second to none. Very disciplined guy. Works super hard on his hands, bringing them up since the dude wrestled in college. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Worked super hard on his jiu-jitsu. When he came to us, he was more of a scrambler because of his wrestling. But he's getting much more technical. He's starting to finish people more. He's starting to sweep people more. He's starting to be able to get on top and stay tighter in a position instead of being loose and allowing movement, which causes scrambles. You can lose a scramble just as well as you can win it. So, he's definitely puts his work in, and I believe he'll get that shot, and he absolutely deserves the shot because, again, the guy is a worker. If we had 100 of him, it would make my life super easy.
Yeah, and I think, if the workout continues and as the wins pile up, the guy, he won't be denied. So once again...
Yep, that's my thought process. That's what I'm telling you. Keep winning. The rest will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Again, this Saturday, April 13th, First Man Arena, Shogun Fights VIII. You can get your tickets at Ticketmaster. Where else, John?
ShogunFights.com is a good spot for you. Ticketmaster or the First Mariner Arena box office. If you're local in the area, I believe Living Social is on the last legs of a deal, but we've sold like 600 some tickets through them. We use them to sell some areas that guys normally don't buy. But it's just the response that we're getting through it is amazing. So that's out there, and it's again, this thing's an event. People come, everybody's dressed nice, the music's on. For the people that get VIP, tickets to the show, there's a dinner and a party and open bar with a DJ 2 hours before at the arena. They take you to your seat. You get to hang out. We have 11, great fights scheduled on the card. Our ring girls, Crystal and Leah. Leah's a fitness model. Crystal, bikini model. Been in Playboy, done Playboy lingerie, and all that kind of stuff. So, the ring girls are hot. The action is good. The arena is, a great facility, and then there's an after party at Mosaic afterwards. And then you never know what kind of people you're going to see there. I mean, Anthony Johnson's going to be there. Brady Anderson. Now, the Orioles are away, so I don't know if he travels with the team, but I was told by one of my guys he asked for tickets again. He was at the last show. Torrey Smith hit me today. He's going to come to the show. So, you might see some Ravens, definitely going to see some fighters, and definitely going to see some action-packed fights there. So, Ticketmaster, the First Mariner box office, or ShogunFights.com.
I agree, John. If you spend your dollar, you will get your money's worth. Just want to say thank you again for your time. You guys, you're actually on Twitter at JRallo44 at Shogun Fights. If you guys want to check out the feed. And again, thanks a lot for the time, and good luck Saturday. Looking forward to it.
All right, Tim.
Thank you. Talk to you.